This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to a comics episode of the Animanicast.
What?
This is Maurice LaMarche, the voice of Squid the Pigeon from the Good Feathers and Animaniacs. And you're listening to the Animanicast. Don't hit me, Pesto!
And welcome once again to the Animanicast. We're the only podcast out there that's dedicated to the animated television series, Animaniacs. And here we explore the series episode by episode. We talk about all the cultural references and gags that we can find. And of course, in the end, we give each episode a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again is my brother, Nathan.
I scream, you scream, we all scream for, huh?
Yes, we're all screaming for a new comic book. Indeed. I don't know. Tried to think of some sort of transition there. But Kelly is not with us today. It is Kelly's birthday on the day we're recording this. So,
oh, happy birthday, Kelly.
Happy birthday, Kelly. She gets the night off.
Does she listen to this? I don't.
Probably not. But we are going to be talking about a comic, an issue of Animaniacs. We're talking about issue number 10 of Animaniacs today, which was released in February of 1996. It includes a comic book is born. It includes a useless fact, a really challenging, crossword puzzle, and another segment called The Ice Cream Man Cometh. And this was a very interesting comic. I liked it quite a bit. But Nathan, what would you say about it if someone asked you about it in a few words?
I learned things in this, I think.
I did too. I actually was like looking at this going, and those useless facts were actually kind of interesting in the middle. And
that whole first segment was...
And the first segment, it was very educational as well. Yes, I agree. This is perhaps the most educational issue of Animaniacs that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to our discussion about today's comic, though, in detail, I think we need to have a very special announcement. Because coming up soon, we will have a very special episode of the Animanicast.
What?
That's right. I will be making a trip to Los Angeles, the greater Los Angeles area, I should say, because we have an interview scheduled with not only the creator of Animaniacs, our good friend, Tom Ruger, but joining him will be the trio that we all love the most.
The good trio.
The good trio. Yes, it's not the Warner Brothers and the Sister Dot, but Pesto, Bobby, and Squint. That's right. We're going to be talking to Maurice LaMarche, John Mariano, and Chick Venera, all together in the same room. Oh my gosh. It's a Good Feathers reunion, ladies and gentlemen. So this is big news, very exciting news. And these guys have not, seen each other for a few years. So they're excited to see each other as well. And we're going to have a lot of fun just talking about, what it was like working together on Animaniacs, their characters and all that. But if you have any questions out there, everybody, Nathan, where should they send them? What are some ways they could tell us?
They should send them to us.
That's true. How?
Discord is a great way to do it. We're really quick there. There's also Twitter. There's a Twitter account for Animanicast, right? Just at Facebook. We have a Facebook page, so you can submit questions to there. I don't know what
Email?
Did I miss any? Email's always a thing. It has existed since you've got mail and before. Yeah.
That's right. You got mail. And so that's Animanicast at retrozap.com. And of course, our Discord channel is discord.animanicast.com. So many different ways to get in contact with us, but you have to make sure if you're listening to this episode on the day it's released, then good for you, because you should be able to get your questions in on time if you do it right away. Our interview is scheduled for Wednesday the 12th at this point, so if you get them in before then, you have a chance to get them in. But
I would aim for getting them by Tuesday at the latest.
Yes, I would suggest that, because I'm going to be traveling. I can't,
Yeah, and we'll probably run most of these questions by them beforehand too. So
yeah, exactly. So, So anyway,
the sooner you get it in, the better.
Yeah, exactly. So please do Animanicast at retrozap.com and all of those other channels. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of this issue, this Animaniacs issue. I think we should mention how you can read this stuff. Now, number one, you can go ahead and, of course, get issue number 10 of Animaniacs at maybe your local comic shop. I think it's I
haven't asked them yet.
I think it's kind of unlikely. I was just at Tucson Comic Con a few weeks ago, and I went to a few places and asked them if they had Animaniacs comic books, and they looked at me like I was insane. So that's a little hard to do from a local comic book shop. So what I would suggest doing is just getting them online. You can purchase them from various different online comic shops pretty easily. Or you could simply look for some, we'll say, preview images online.
Yeah,
sample images where you can see the entire comic book scanned and everything like that, so that you can read along that way. Just be careful. There are, at least the site that I saw, had various pictures of women that you could go on dates with and stuff like that. So
they're not real, though. So don't try.
We don't. Yeah, please don't click on these women. We have no responsibility if your identity is stolen by clicking on those ads. But it's a great way to, at least see the comic books right there. Issue number 10 has a very special gratuitous pinup cover. Nathan, tell us what happens here on the cover of Animaniacs.
I mean, there's not a lot to say about this one.
It's actually not.
There's Yakko, Wakko, and Daughter on it. Yakko and Wakko are looking at something. I'll get to that in a minute. But their tongues are hanging out, and they've dropped paint on the floor, it looks like.
Were they painting this issue with this cover?
But they must have stopped right away, because there's nothing but blue behind them. Apparently, they painted the word Animaniacs at the top of the page. That's yellow and red. And so what they're looking at is Hello Nurse, and she's huge. I'm guessing they painted her on the wall. I don't really understand.
I think they painted her. I think they painted the whole cover, because I do see Yakko's brush has blue on it. So I guess they just painted the whole cover, including Hello Nurse. Let's just say that happened.
It's strange. Okay. And then they were so proud of their work, they're just staring at it, but it also looks like they're staring away from the wall, which is kind of weird. Anyways, Dot's pointing at them saying, "Boys, all instincts, no intellects," which I guess makes sense. They must be looking at something off in the distance.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I never even thought about how the line, the eye line, is, what do they call this? Eyesight, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they don't really seem to be. At first glance, you think, oh, they're looking at Hello Nurse, but then you think about it, and it's a flat image behind them, not a three-dimensional object. So why would they be staring ahead? Why wouldn't they be staring behind them? Leave it to Nathan to think of the math angles right there.
It's cute, but it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's so funny because our last issue had such a enormously detailed cover, and this one has such a simple cover. It's almost like somebody just kind of slapped it together at the last minute and said, "Oh, just put Hello Nurse on the front." Has really nothing much to do with either of the segments inside at all. It's just there. But whatever. Any thoughts about the cover before we talk about the real stuff here, Nathan?
It looks fine. I was kind of hoping there was like going to be a pin-up thing in the inside, like a giant Hello Nurse based on the cover. I was like, oh, that's cool. There's going to be like an extra like poster basically, but I just misread, I guess.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the first story. And the first one is called A Comic Book is Born. How appropriate that we're coming out with the this year A Star is Born. Just got made again for like
Did you see that?
Third or fourth time. I have.
I saw it too.
It was a very powerful movie. I don't know if I'll be seeing it anytime again soon. But this one is not talking about any, Lady Gaga or a singer or
Which
anything
is strange.
like that.
I would think they would be talking about Lady Gaga.
Yeah, well, I was waiting for Lady Gaga to come out. But Comic Book is Born was written by Dana Curtin. The letterer was Bob Panaha. The penciler was Neil Sternecki. Colorist Joe Munoz. Inker Scott McRae. And Hello Nurse is as herself.
But she doesn't look as herself in this.
She really doesn't. And she really she's really acting dumb in this first panel. The only panel that she's in, by the way. Dr. Scratchansniff is in his office. And they have, issues of instead GQ. He has an issue of PQ on his desk, Psychotics Quarterly. And instead of Newsweek, it's Nuts Week on the table. And he's telling Hello Nurse, "Hold all calls, nurse." And she says, "Consider it done, doctor." And she holds the phone, in her hands.
It's ringing, and she's not picking it up.
Yeah.
What?
She has this kind of weird, dazed look on her face, she just looks so stupid. Just, hello, nurse, come on. She's not dumb. I mean, she's been ditzy, but I think so far the comic book especially has been making her feel, or at least appear, especially stupid. The last issue, she was just acting like a dumb blonde. And that seems a little inconsistent with how Hello Nurse, truly should act.
I mean, the PhDs and everything,
Exactly. Well, anyway, Dr. Scratchansniff tells her to hold all the calls because he has to sneak off into the second office or whatever. He says, "At last I am alone. They all laughed at me, but I will have the last laugh with my favorite comic book." And he holds up an issue of Pinky and the Brain. It's issue Pinky and the Brain comic book, which we had to look it up. Pinky and the Brain comic book did not actually premiere for months later. I believe issue number 1 of the Pinky and the Brain comic book came out in July of 1996. And of course, this was in February of 1996. So, perhaps the folks over at DC knew it was coming down the pike and they wanted to kind of promote it a little bit, perhaps. What does it say right here on the cover of this fake Pinky and the Brain comic? The Brain is putting Pinky in a cannon, and he says, "Prepare yourself for takeoff, Pinky." And Pinky saying, "Take off, but I don't wear clothes, Brain." Narf. Huh. I get it. Can't take off. But he's getting into it, and then all of a sudden, the Warners jump in and say, "Hey, is there a doctor in the house? Just flew in from the water tower, and boy, are my arms tired." What do you know? There is. It's Dr. Scratchansniff. And Wakko immediately starts eating all the candies and his little drawer and everything like that. Dr. Scratchansniff is very distressed because he didn't want to be seen. He wanted his private time with his comic book, But, the Warners immediately grab this comic book, this priceless Pinky and the Brain comic book, which of course needs to be bagged and boarded, but they don't care. They say, "Oh," Wakko says, "Look, Doctor, you lost something." "This is no mere something, Wakko. This is a comic book." They at first think that this is going to be some sort of Birds and the Bees discussion. He says, "Oh, you are all kerplunked in the head. Comic books, they are made, not born. It's a beautiful, natural process, and he goes, wait a minute." Yakko tells him, "There's no smooching or mushy stuff in here." And Wakko says, "There's not going to be a test afterwards, and the interaction of diglyceride is in the Krebs cycle, is there?" Which I didn't get that. Anyway, they think and Dot asks, "Tom Cruise isn't going to make an appearance shirtless, is he?" 9. And then they're all like, "Well, why stay?" Well, then he basically tells them, no, this is like making a pizza. A comic book is like a pizza because you need all these different toppings and it all comes together for a very, to make the whole. And they say, "Oh, why didn't you say so?" Now they're interested because it deals with pizza. So, out of nowhere, because I guess just Dr. Scratchansniff has these displays on his wall, he can pull them down. He says, "Making a comic book begins with the lonely writer alone in the dark." So he pulls down a little shade kind of map, I suppose.
I think there's a projector playing.
A projector, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they're going to be watching a film, so he's pulling down the...
Yeah, you're right. It is a film, because Wakko says, "Do we need a parent's signature to watch this film?" And it shows the lonely comic book writer writing alone in a this poor comic book writer. It has a horrible apartment. He's sitting on like a box. There's like holes in the wall. He has one lone, like light bulb hanging from a string above him. And, he kind of looks like Fred Flintstone a little bit, but anyway, this poor comic book writer, he's there, and they all basically jump into the frame, and they pull Dr. Scratchansniff in there with them, I should say, to check out what's going on. And, Dr. Scratchansniff kind of goes over and talks about how he gets the idea. He paces back and forth, and it's kind of a odd situation. I was really expecting the writer to kind of freak out when people jumped into his apartment, but this is like a Christmas Carol situation. They don't see what's going on, really. They can neither see nor hear them as they go through. Even when Dr. Scratchansniff tells them that, his ideas are forming, bursting, and exploding, Wakko says, "That's my kind of nature film." So Wakko puts down a huge amount of dynamite next to him. And he says, "No, 9 writing is a mental process. All the explosions happen internally." And Wakko says, "Well, I have the same problem after eating cabbage."
Ew.
Well, so that's the writing process. The writer then cleans himself up and goes over to the courtship stage. And he meets the publisher of Warner Brothers Worldwide Publishing. And the publisher is this, she's very glamorous comic book publisher. Pink dress, this looks like almost like a 1940s dame or something like that in an office, doesn't it? Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just says, "You'll love it." "No." "It's the best." "No." "You'll die laughing." "No." And he says, "Please." "Oh, all right." So he puts it in, and we start seeing right now Dr. Scratchansniff holding up things like the script. And it really almost appears that we're kind of seeing real frames from real writing at this point. The script is for mime time. And they show a little magnifying glass zooming in of like rewriting, and Yakko is saying, "You call this a comic? There's no pictures." And he goes, "Yeah, that's because it's not born." And so the next step is to...
I thought they said it's made, not born. Get your story straight, Dr. Scott.
Yeah, exactly. He keeps going back.
Get your metaphors.
Well, speaking of getting your metaphors straight, now he starts turning into... Instead of a pizza, it has very quickly turned now into the script is like a comic book pupa, and like a bookworm. Gross. Speaking of grub, wins lunch. Ha! So we're getting somebody.
Hey.
I like this comic so far. It's lots of little puns like this the entire time. So anyway, the penciler gets it, and the penciler's wearing a Freakazoid shirt. That's cool.
Yeah, I bet he drew that himself.
Probably.
The penciler, right?
Yeah. So the penciler right here is you know, this is such a weird situation because I'm actually thinking, gosh, you know, this was written to talk about how a comic book was written, and it starts breaking so many different walls of like, this must have been a very complicated issue to actually write so far because. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, so he talks about how the penciler is he incubates the comic pupa into infancy, and he's just like a baby chick. 9 in cube 8 from the Latin cubatium, to put in a box. I don't know if that's really Latin, but whatever. Dr. Scratchy. So he starts showing how the penciler kind of makes little boxes for every little thing in his studio. And, hey, this guy really likes his work because he also has a Plucky Duck trash can. Mm-hmm. He loves working.
He's doing a lot better off than that writer was, too.
Yes, I agree. The poor writer has no money. the penciler at least has a house. And he gets to relax with his shoes off as he's drawing this too. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway. So now that we have this basic sketch right here, they pause to actually show you what it looks like. And it looks very sketchy. And I don't mean it like it looks sketchy, like something's wrong with it.
I don't want to walk down that alley.
It just shows like the basic pencil sketches, and it really does look like, well, real pencil sketches. It looks really cool. They just show like, you know, the beginnings of the comic. The next step is then it goes over to the letterer. The letterer now teaches the toddler comic to speak. And so the letterer goes in and then adds all the different things. They make this little joke to, you know, there's a little panel that just says the word wham. And Wakko says, "Why isn't wham in a balloon? I want a wham balloon." And Dot says, "Because no one says wham. Wham is a sound effect." And Yakko says, "Girls, they think they always know everything. Here you go, Wakko." And he gives him a balloon, like a blue balloon, and on top of it, it says wham. Aww. And Wakko was very happy because now he has a wham balloon. Anyway, moving on, they go on after the penciler. He goes, "Like all adolescents, the comic is now rough, unfinished, in need of discipline. In short, it must be cleaned up. That is inked." Or, "That is inked." But I thought the penciler incubated it. 9. The penciler incubated it. Incorporate is the Latin incorporatorium, whatever, to give form with ink. So the inker goes in and then really kind of, you know, goes through and makes the penciler lines look all nice and...
Yeah, it makes them thick and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting a really cool thing. And then at the very last stop, there's only one stage left before our comic reaches full maturity, the colorist. And this woman is there, and they're all telling her to do different colors. Like, Yakko really thinks that puce would be a really great color to put in the comic. But
I think the colorist did not do a good job, though. You see that comic she made? You see the mime?
Yep, the mime. You're right. The mime's face is colored incorrectly. Well, for Mime Time, I really want to blame the colorist because they were like all over her, like telling her, you know, bothering her.
It was hard for her to concentrate on making a mime not look
exactly.
Made the mime just human, just some human getting crushed by an anvil.
I really feel sorry for the DC colorists here because it is easy to go hard on them because sometimes they have made some pretty awful mistakes on this comic book, you know, with Slappy or whomever. Mm-hmm. It's like, come on, you got to get the reference colors right, please. Anyway. And after that, you have your finished comic book, perfect for reading, recycling, or simply lining your bird cage. knock yourself out, says Yakko to Squit the pigeon, who is all of a sudden in Dr. Scratchansniff's office in a bird cage. I don't know why Scratchansniff would be talking about how the comic is so great, and you could, by the way, you can just recycle it or put it in a bird cage. So I don't know. It seems, but Dr. Scratchansniff then turns to everybody and says, "Just as a side note, the editor works behind the scenes throughout the entire process. It is their job to make sure everything runs smoothly and on time. Yes, the editor, sweet creatures of love and light, talented, generous, beautiful beings that they are." And the Warners realize this lovey-dovey talk about the editor is actually just the writer of this comic book trying to, kiss up. So he says,
to the editor.
Yeah, just as a hint, kids, the writer of this comic book is courting the editor so she can make another. And in public, too. Have these writers no shame? So the Warners go off and they leave Dr. Scratchansniff alone in the room as he's just going, "Oh, the editor." And he opens up the door and realizes that the Warners have gone off into a other room. And in that other room is really how comic books are made. And it's kind of like this Dante's Inferno hellscape where there's a volcano and the editor is wearing like an executioner's mask, smoking a cigar, saying, "Draw quicker or you'll be sent to quality control," and snapping a whip over these artists who are frantically drawing comic books on artist boards and everything. He says, "Don't be fooled, kids. We all know this is how comic books are really made, but don't tell Dr. Scratchansniff." And and Dot says, "I guess Wertham was right," which I don't get either. It's like there's these references to stuff. Anyway, and then the marketing department is even lower down in this Inferno apparently. And instead of the end, it says the eternity with flames. Anyway, that was our educational comic, and this is actually really just neat to visually look through, above all. But Nathan, what did you think about this first segment?
I liked it. I mean, I didn't find it particularly funny necessarily, but I enjoyed it, and I liked a lot of the little references they drew in. I think the writer and the penciler, I think they did the best of the work of all the people that
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the inker did a well job of inking things, but the colorist didn't do a great job.
They didn't really focus that much time on the colorist, did they? They're just like, the colorist does this, and they finish it, and they're done.
I did like that a lot of the jobs were women jobs, like about half of them. So
that's true.
Like
well, this was written by what's her name here? This was
Dana.
Dana. This is written by Dana. There is no Dana, only Zool. No, this is written by.
Oh, sorry. This is written by Zool.
No, this is written by Dane Curtin. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to see that there's a female writer, a female editor of the comic book. Yeah, so you get some good female representation right here. So you're right. Even though she portrayed the writer in the comic book as a male, whatever. It all works out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. It was a very educational and amusing. I wouldn't say laugh out loud funny or anything like that, but still very amusing, very cute. And
there's a lot of little things, like if you squint, like reading the notes for the original submission to the thing, where it's like, is this legal to say it's a bird, it's a plane? That might be, and it and then an anvil drops, and it's like, what about a marshmallow instead?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, it's a very, there's a lot of detailed stuff right here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to look up.
It's just that the colorist didn't mess up the mime's face.
It's just that one small thing. I had to look up Wertham right here. Is a German-American psychiatrist and author. Wertham had an early reputation as a progressive psychiatrist who treated poor black patients at his Lafargue clinic when mental health services for blacks were uncommon due to racialist psychiatry. Wertham also authored a definitive textbook on the brain, and his institutional stressor findings were cited when courts overturned multiple segregation statutes, most notably in Brown versus Board of Education. I have no idea what Wertham has to do with...
He apparently was concerned about the effects of violent imagery in mass media and the effects of comic books on developing children. He asserted that comic books caused youth to become delinquents. So
there we go. He probably that had something to do with the comic books code and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're getting that little again, but it's like so self-referential in this one,
right?
And
like that one's something that only comic book writers, I feel like.
Yeah, but but that's why I really appreciated this first issue, this first segment, I should say, because it works for kids. You know, like just going to teach kids how comics are made, but it has those really kind of little inside jokes that I had to use the internet to figure out the answer to, and that's cool. Well, speaking of cool facts, we're not done with them because next we have useless facts. And this month we're talking about letters. Very appropriate. We were just talking about, comics and letters and things like that. So the first fact, which again, I did not know this fact. Printing was originally done with thousands of blocks of movable type, which are organized into two cases. And so, hence the term uppercase, which was a box of capital letters, which was above, and then lowercase, which was in a different box. And Yakko points to the guy setting the type and saying, and mental case. Nathan, did you ever have a opportunity to actually set a printer with actual type, like little metal letters at all?
No, well, I've seen those, but I've never done one myself, I don't think.
I have.
Where did you do it
I did it in high school in my printing class. And even though it was in the mid-90s, for some reason, we were still being told how to set type with a type like press and everything like that. We had to, maybe because it was just all the high school could afford, perhaps. I don't know. But we made our own business cards, and they were just basic type. And we had to go search for the letters and go to the different boxes and everything like that. It was kind of fun for how simple it was, but or archaic, I should say it is. But glad I don't have to do that anymore. I'd much rather just type out what I want to have printed,
right?
And have it printed. But yeah, so uppercase and lowercase was based upon the boxes. I thought that was kind of cool. Did you know that, Nathan? Did you know that?
No, well, I didn't know. Yeah, I knew that they used to type that way, but I didn't know that's why they called them uppercase and lowercase.
I just thought it was because it was a bigger letter, and that makes it upper.
Yeah, it's upper and it's lower. I don't know, but
no, it's all dealing with boxes and cases. It's all dealing with literal cases that are up and down. There, go figure. Well, the next fact is, although hyped by typewriter manufacturers as easy and efficient, the current QWERTY layout, I should say, of typewriter keys was really created to prevent jamming. Though not efficient at all, it is still in use today. And it shows Dot kind of with her fingers tied up in knots saying, yeah, but what keeps my fingers from jamming?
What?
Yeah, fingers all twisted up. So, yeah, I guess just so, do you remember typing with a typewriter? Have you ever used a typewriter for typing anything, Nathan?
No, I think I typed on one at like my grandmother's house, but I think that was it.
Yeah, that's true. Our grandmother had a typewriter, and that's how I learned about how typewriters can jam, because
I think we broke it a couple times.
Exactly. Yeah. When you're a kid, you just start slamming the keys down, and these are sticking together now. So, and this last fact, I don't know if it necessarily has that much to do with letters. It's an acronym. The word TIP, as in gratuity, is an acronym meaning to ensure promptness. And Yakko says the only tip he's going to eat is don't eat yellow snow, because they've been waiting so long at this restaurant that Wakko and Yakko were fine, but Dot has turned into a skeleton.
I bet she'll regenerate because she's a Time Lord.
Probably. And yet somehow kept the same physical being or something.
Hey,
but
you know what? It's possible. You know,
cartoons
it's unlikely, but
cartoons can get smashed and crushed and everything. They keep coming back. They're fine. Well,
were you able to solve all the next crossword?
Well, yeah, Nathan, tell us about the crossword puzzle right here.
So it's called "What's in a Name," and it shows Dot, and she's celebrating, and like some of these are pretty hard. It's like cut along the blanket line. It's 3 letters. Yeah. Department of Transportation abbreviation. It's 3 letters. All these are 3 letters. It's weird. The basic symbol in Braille, 3 letters. Connect the blanks. Short for Dorothy. I don't know. There's about 18 of these. 17. I guess there's only 9 of them.
Well, each answer, Nathan, is
what?
Dot. Each answer is
matrix
dot.
Printer.
Dot
matrix. Your I's and cross your T's. Okay, so
and of course
then Wakko says apparently everything, and Yakko says I still say we should have called her Dakko.
Dakko.
Yakko, Wakko, and Dakko.
And of course, there's the last answer, which I liked, which of course is polka dot.
It's good.
If you insist. Anyway. Well, after that brain twister of a crossword puzzle, I think it's time for another story. So Nathan, tell us, what is the next story? It's called what? I'll tell you what it's called.
Tell me what it's called. Tell me who wrote it and penciled it.
Okay. I will. Just for the record. It's The Ice Cream Man Cometh.
Oh, okay. Now I know which one.
And the writer was Jesse Leon McCann. I wonder if that's any relation to John McCann.
P. McCann.
No, not John P. McCann. I don't think there's any relationship to John McCann, but maybe? I'll have to reach out to him online. Penciler was Leonard Batik. Inker was Scott McRae. Letterer Bob Panaha. Colorist Joe Mignot. Nathan, tell us what happens here in The Ice Cream Man Cometh.
All right. Well, it is a sweltering hot day on the Warner Brothers studio lot, and the Warners are all sitting on the edge of the water tower pretending to fish, I guess. They got the fish rods out, and Dot's singing a song. She's saying someone's cooking in the kitchen with Dinah, baking at 400 degrees. So it's hot. So basically they're all in like old-timey clothes, but it's modern day. And Yakko says, well, as my friend Huck once said, when it gets hot, it's time for hooky, fishing, and relaxing. And then Wakko says, Huck who? And Yakko says, Gesundheit. It's a good joke. But so they're wearing clothes like from Huckleberry Finn, basically. And then they hear some music, and it turns out it's the Ice Cream Man Cometh. So then they say, all right, team, let's hear it. I scream, you scream, we all scream for. And then Dot misses her cue, so she screams ice cream, a panel too late. But that's fine. So they're going down to go see the Ice Cream Man, but Ralph is guarding, so they ought to like figure out some way to trick him. So they start pouring out some frosted cornflakes onto his head, and he's like, oh, it's snowing, I better get my jacket. And
it must be very frosted, because I've never had frosted cornflakes that are that frosted, like completely white sugar. So
right, I didn't know it was frosted cornflakes. I assumed it was sugar or something, but anyways, it's frosted cornflakes because later Wakko and Yakko had a bet. And Wakko says, pay up, it worked. And Yakko says, who'd have thought he'd fall for that corny gag? All right, so they're now able to get past Ralph. So we see the Ice Cream Man. He's got a line of children. And the first kid wants a double dip chocolate fudge, please. And The ice cream man says that was 76 cents, and it's like the kid's like, hey, that was 75 cents yesterday. That's all I brought. And he's like, sorry, kid, inflation. Who's next? You would think the ice cream man would rather get the 75 cents than no cents, but whatever.
He seems to take great pleasure at not giving ice cream to anybody.
Yeah, it's like you get that sale, man. Like, save that. You're a penny short.
Take a penny, leave a penny. You know?
Yeah, like you're fine. But that penny's not going to make. If you're going to raise the price, put it up to $1. You know.
Exactly.
But anywho, this kid is running home to go get his big brother, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll make sure he brings a penny for you." And so he's not a very nice guy.
No.
Yakko was next, I guess, and he doesn't know if he wants a double nutty, crunchy Choco Super Ripple Supreme with raspberry, or the supremely nutty Super Choco Ripple Crunchy Double with raspberry. Anyways,
this is driving the guy crazy.
He's like,
order.
Which is it? And he's like, oh, I'll take vanilla. So then Yakko's like, oh, it's not every day you get free ice cream. And so he just starts eating the ice cream, and the ice cream man's like, free? What are you talking about? And he's like, hey, unless you're guilty of false advertisement. And you can see his truck is parked right against a pole, so it just says yummy free, and it should say yummy freeze. So
yeah. Yummy free. Extra E in there.
The Z is missing, yeah. So, and then so he takes it away, and by the time he takes it away, it's just a popsicle stick. And then Yakko says, hey, besides, instead of wasting time yelling at me, you might want to stop my brother and sister who are just handing out ice cream to all the kids, including Mindy and Buttons. And Mindy says, thank you, mister, I love you, bye-bye.
Yeah, she got a line in finally in this
book. So now he is very angry. So he's gonna, he grabs Wakko, but Wakko burps right in his face, so drops him. And then he's upset, and Yakko Dot starts kissing him all over, and she's got chocolate all over her mouth. And so now he's covered in chocolate. Oh boy, he is just upset.
Yes.
They decide to I don't know why they throw him in a tree. They're trying to go skating, I guess, so they put popsicles on their feet.
They're just going into basic, just drive it sky crazy mode. Right now.
Exactly. They climb into his ice cream truck, and it turns into a TARDIS because it's bigger on the inside.
It really does. This turns into a whole other adventure right now at this point when walking into the freezer.
It's definitely bigger on the inside. There's
yes.
polar bears, there's penguins in here. When the ice cream man chases him in, they start doing a popsicle stick sword fight. And Dot walks up behind him and hits him with a giant popsicle and walks softly and carry a big ice cream stick. I feel like that's reference to something, but I can't remember what.
Could it be Teddy Roosevelt, perhaps?
Yeah, that's it. He said walk softly and carry a big ice cream stick.
That's exactly what he said. Quote.
Anyways, the Warners are suddenly on a floating iceberg or whatever that's called. They're floating away on a little ice island.
Yes.
And they're gonna fall off a waterfall. And they're like, "Help!" And he's like, "Why should I?" And it's like, "Well, our parents will sue if you don't." And then he's like, "Oh my gosh, they're right." So he jumps in after him, but as soon as he jumps, the water is turned to ice. It's frozen over. He falls over the edge of the waterfall, and he rolls up into a giant snowball. And he's so frozen that his mustache cracks off when Dot snaps it off. So
yeah, we should mention that this guy looks like Dirk Dastardly or something
from
like that.
Those criminal with a pencil mustache.
Yeah, he looks like somebody who would tie somebody to a railroad track, basically. He's got a new job and it's giving out ice cream to kids.
Yeah, and he hates it. All he wants to do is not give ice cream to kids.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't care about money.
I should be tying women to railroad tracks.
Well, he breaks out of the snowball, and he's gonna get the kids, and then he notices, they're like, what's that noise? And it's an avalanche, and they all get pushed outside of the ice cream truck. And then that little boy, he was going to be charged 76 cents for his ice cream. He didn't get any free ice cream because he was away from the area. He's back with his brother, and his brother's a cop. And the cops brought all his cop buddies, and they're writing tickets for everything. Like he's parked too close to a water tower, the bumper's loose, he only has half a mustache, the ice cream bar is missing from the top of the truck. They're finding everything to, I think it ends with them saying, I'm sure he'll get a warm welcome in the cooler. So
he's getting sent to jail.
Yay!
You'll take that for overcharging kids by a penny next time.
And getting all your ice cream stolen from you.
And then getting harassed by kids and thrown up into the... Oh my gosh, this ice cream man really got punished a lot. I mean, he was a jerk, but...
But also, like, it's his right to sell, like...
at the price he wants to. Exactly.
You can't be like, well, that's too much, so everything's free now. And it's not like he, like, overcharged that much. He an extra penny, how dare.
Oh, I know. Well, I do remember those kinds of people, though, as a kid, though. Like, as a kid, I remember going in to buy a comic book or something like that, and before I knew things about, like, tax and everything, like, the comic book says 75 cents. So, here's 75 cents for this Archie comic book. And the people at, B. Dalton or Walden Books sometimes would say, okay, that's fine. Or sometimes they would turn you away and go, no, you need more than 75 cents. There's tax, and you have to put tax on here. And it's like, what? So I could empathize with that kid a little bit, but at the same time, it's just a penny kid. I mean, come on. Whatever. Or at least the Warners could have just given the kid a penny. And
right.
Said, look, just don't go back to this
the
kid
guy's
anymore.
ice cream.
Exactly. Whatever. Well, what did you think about this last comic, Nathan?
It wasn't as educational as the first one.
It wasn't. It was still pretty funny, though. It was like, it was very interesting, this whole this TARDIS situation where they go in and there's pine trees and there's a waterfall and there's all this stuff that's inside this ice cream truck until they get kicked out the other side again. So it was pretty cool. Well, let's get to our Water Tower rating, but before we do, let's just talk about some of the advertisements. Of course, we wrap up this issue with an advertisement for Biodome. Woo, never seen it.
Arizona.
That's right. Well, was it actually filmed in Biosphere 2 or just based upon Biosphere 2?
I think so, but yeah, it's based on Biosphere 2, which is in Arizona, near Tucson even. So
yeah, we've been there.
Right on the outskirts, yeah.
There's also some video game advertisements. One that was an Aerosmith one here at the end called Revolution X, I believe. And I don't remember playing this. It was for Super Nintendo, Genesis, PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and PC CD-ROM. I don't remember that game at all. It sounds vaguely familiar, but not really. There's another video game called Cyber Mage, which was only available apparently on PC. First-person point of view in VGA or SVGA. Ooh, I remember VGA graphics. You can buy this at CompUSA, which I don't even think they have CompUSAs anymore. Of course, they have a Dungeons and Dragons advertisement, and an advertisement here for a Cutthroat Island game, which I've never seen Cutthroat Island. I know one of my friends in high school liked the movie quite a bit. I did not see it, and I don't think a lot of other people saw it either. And Earthworm Jim 2, and of course our Levi's ad. Once again, Levi's was paying DC quite a bit of money for their loose-fitting jeans. Nathan, were you familiar with any of those video games?
Earthworm Jim?
Yeah, but did you ever play it? I played a little bit of it, but we didn't have a Genesis growing up.
No, we didn't really play it. I got it on my SNES Classic recently, but I didn't really play it on that either.
Yeah. Well, I know it is like just like a cartoon. It's really like, for the time especially, just awesome for what it could do. Looked like you were playing a cartoon. Not familiar with the sequel, though, that much at all. But
well, and they also came out with a cartoon, too. So
that's true. And with Dan Castanet, I believe, as the voice of Earthworm Jim, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But
it played right alongside the Animaniacs.
Yeah, so it's all good. Except for Earthworm Jim. I don't remember that cartoon being good.
Yeah, I don't remember at all.
All right, well, let's go and get to the water tower rating. What do you think, Nathan? Out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this comic book?
It's a tough one because it's fine. I'll say 3.5. 3.5 water towers seems good.
All right, why is that?
I liked that the first one was very educational. I learned a lot from it. There was some useless facts. I liked there was the activities. And then that last comic was like fine. I've seen worse comics, but it's not my favorite.
Well, I'm going to give this one 4.5 actually, because even though that last, especially the second time reading through it, just then was yeah, I guess they were a little too harsh on that guy. It still felt like, okay, I could see this turning into a cartoon,
Yeah,
and
the first one, I don't think that would be a good cartoon, though.
Not at all.
I mean, I guess you'd have to do it about making a cartoon. But
yeah.
I think it would just be boring.
Yeah, but I liked it. I liked the inside joke stuff. I learned stuff at it, and I don't know. I just thought it was really, especially, maybe I'm just being especially generous with this one because the last issue we reviewed was
so
just
bad.
so bad.
Yeah.
It was just so bad. So to have this it was good. It was nice. I like this one quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Well, that'll wrap it up for today's episode. So let's go ahead and get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people get in contact with you?
I'm on Twitter, YODAPRNCSS. Wait.
No, that's Kelly.
That's Kelly, Yoda Princess. I'm Django FT. That's me. There we go.
And as for the Animanicast, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord, as we all mentioned at the top of the show. And, of course, we're a proud member of the Retro Zap podcast community. You can check out the Retro Zap podcast feed where you can get every single one of the podcasts that Retro Zap produces free straight to your device, whether it's Star Wars, video games, movies, superheroes, whatever aspect of pop culture, Retro Zap has you covered. So with that, this is Joey, and for Nathan, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.